So automation, this is a little deck that we put together. So about a year and a half ago, we were set to release automations in its very early stage out into the wilderness. And one of our devs had put in some copy text in the little card in the settings. It was just temporary text placeholder, not meant to ever see the great outdoors. I remember our CEO telling everyone quite a few times to get rid of that text because it's gonna get pushed out into the wild. We're gonna forget about it, and everybody, of course, convinced him that he was being wrong and paranoid, and that there was no reason for any sort of concern. Yeah, it actually leaked out, and we got a positive response from some of our users, and after that we changed it, and all was good. At least out of it, we got a cool story, and our CEO got to tell everyone, "I told you so," for about a week or so. With that said, so automations. The first thing that I want to start off with in terms of automations is not how they work, it's why. So why would we even want to use automations in the first place? What business need do they, or what value do they bring to us as a company? Or I should say to you as a company. Well, first up, automations save time, right? If you have something in the system that happens automatically without somebody having to do it manually every single time, you're saving time, which is good. The second thing is you avoid mistakes, right? So whenever somebody has to do something manually, if you repeat it a sufficient number of times, at one point they're going to make a mistake, they're going to mess something up. So a computer doesn't have those limitations, so it's going to be right every single time that you do it. And lastly, it lets you communicate key info, right? So whenever something happens in productive, if you want key members of your team to know about this, the automations can ensure this. It can send the correct info out to the relevant folks. Now, when you go into productive, when you go to set up your automations, you might get a bit overwhelmed with everything that you can do. So what we've put together is a bit of like an informal categorization, let's say, of automations, right? So what automations can be for you in very broad strokes? First up, the first automation type that we've outlined here is an additional action. So this means that whenever something happens in productive, something else will happen in productive. And that sounds very vague, but in short, this means that whenever one thing happens, another thing will happen as well. With an example being, let's say that we have a task status called QA, and whenever it's in QA, we want to assign it to a specific person. And automation can do this, right? So whenever we change the status to X, we want to change the assignee to Z, whatever. That's one type of automation. The second one is notification, right? So whenever we get something going on in productive, that something happens in productive, we want to inform people about it. Note that this is not necessarily something bad. This is not necessarily, maybe not even something actionable. We just want folks to know about it. So we call this the notification. And a good example here is, for example, whenever a new deal in productive has been won, we want to inform our team, maybe our sales team, maybe our budgeting team, whoever, about this. And the last automation type is warning. So if notifications are something that happens regularly and we expect it to happen and it's cool that it happens, warnings are something warnings tell us of states that we want to avoid, right? Illogical states are something that we just generally don't like and that we want to correct. For example, let's say that I'm a budget owner, I'm managing my budget as you do, and then somebody comes in and makes changes to my budget, right? For whichever reason. I want to know about this and I want to be informed about it. That's a warning type automation. Just know that these automation types are not, this classification is not formal, so it's not set in productive in any sort of way. You won't find it in productive. It's just a way for you to visualize and see how automations look like, or what they are. All right, automations flow. Automations in general have a very simple 3-step or even 2-step flow. First up, a trigger. So what needs to happen in order for an automation to be triggered? For example, in the previous example that I had here under warning, okay, someone changed something on a budget. That's the trigger to get the automation rolling. The second step of the flow is condition. Do we need any additional conditions to be met in order to trigger the automations, in order to run the automation? Well, in this case, we want to check if I'm the budget owner, right? I don't want the automation running for all budgets, just for my own. I only care about my own budget. And lastly, actions. So which action does the automation do? In this case, it sends me an email, right? So simple three-step procedure. And note that the conditions here can be optional. So you can actually omit them entirely. All right. Okay, so with that said, I hope that this paints an understandable but clear picture of automations, how they work and what they can do for you. So the idea here is that we're gonna be diving into some examples. As you can see, that we have quite a few examples here. Think of, and we'll go through them fairly quickly. Imagine these as like like a banquet of things that you can implement at your own company. Take what you please, leave behind what you don't. And oh yeah, by the way, so if we're in productive, if we want to get to automations, we want to go to settings and type in automation. And here we go. Once here, we can click on plus new automation to create a new one. I won't be doing that. I'll just take you through all of the ones that I have here. Yeah, you'll also notice that each of my automations has a little bit of a abbreviation here at the start. So AA is additional action, T is task, and then later on we'll have N as notification, W as warning, and so on. All right, so to get this show on the road, the first automation that we have available here. So it's an additional action on tasks. When does it occur? Well, whenever a task is updated on this one project that I've set up. What are the conditions that we are checking for? We are checking if the due date is empty and if the workflow status has changed to closed. Basically, this is telling me we have completed a task that we never set a due date for, and for whichever reason, we want to avoid that. When this happens, what we want to do is to update the task, to change it, and to set the due date on the same day as the trigger, meaning today, at the moment when I triggered the automation. So what we're going to be doing here, give me just a sec. All right. So on this project, you'll see here, I have this status in the to-do. I have this task in the to-do status, and it has no due date. So if I simply go here and say, let me close it. At the top, I'll say, OK, automation has finished. And you'll notice here that the due date has automatically been set up, right? And in the task itself, I'll see, OK, so the automation updated this task. And this is universal behavior across all automations. So that's one example of an automation that you can have. Second one, task without assignee. So this is a fairly simple use case. So whenever a task is created on this specific project, if the assignee is empty, I want to set the assignee as the project manager, right, on this task. So I have all of these so-called relative fields up here, which refer to other data in the system. So I can set the assignee to be the project manager, because for whichever reason, I don't want tasks to have no assignee. Third one. So if you have clients joining you in productive, and let's say that a task has been created by one of my clients, in this case, John. In this case, what I want to do is I want to send an email to John, to the creator of the task. And what I want to do here is I want to communicate my SLA. And I just want to assure the client, hey, this task that you've set up here, we're going to be taking a look at it quickly. And also note here as a side note that whenever you're creating these emails, Slack messages, whatever you want, you can, in addition to static text, you can put in variables. So for example, here, title is a variable, and you have them on a list here. So you can put in the due date of the task. And of course, as we'll see later, you can also put in emojis, which you want to do to communicate stuff a bit more happily. All right, so client notifications. So whenever a client creates a task, they get notified about they get confirmed that the task has been created. Next up, PM follow-up. So what we want to ensure here is that whenever a client creates a task, we want the PM to follow up with them on that task at some point. So again, when a task is created, check if the creator is John Jones. If John is the creator, then I want to assign a to-do to the project manager to follow up with the client, right? So even when the task is resolved, we want to check in with the client. Next up, working status update. This is a neat little one. So whenever a task changes, we check if the workflow status is to do and if we have any work time tracked on the task itself, right? This means that we have worked on it, but it's still in a status that says we have to start working on it. Not a very logical state. So what we want to do is we want to change the status to working, right? So it doesn't stay behind in the to-do. Next up, subscriber setup. So Productive has the subscriber situation where you can have other people set up as subscribers on tasks. You can even have other people watch projects, so they always get assigned as subscribers to tasks. But people can be stubborn. So this way, you can basically ensure that whenever a new task is created on a specific project, these people are set up as the subscribers, right? So whether they want or not, they're going to be seeing some info from these tasks. Due date. So on this specific automation, so again, when a task is created, we want to check if we have no due date on the task. If we don't, then we want to set the due date. Again, relative data, 1 month after the trigger. So 1 month from the day when the task is created, the due date will be set. QA assignee, all right. So this is an example that we mentioned previously. So when a task is updated, we check if the status has changed to QA and if the assignee is not Luca. So in this case, Luca here is the QA person in my company. If this happens, just change the task for Luca to be the assignee. Simple stuff. Reopen task. This is a neat thing that you can do to ensure compliance internally. So whenever a task is updated, we want to check if the status has changed from closed, which means that the task status previously was closed, which means that the task was closed and it has been reopened. We don't want people to reopen tasks. So what we want to do in this case is we want to close the task again. And additionally, we want to create a comment on the task telling the person that did it, hey, do not open closed tasks, create a new task. If for whichever reason you want to ensure that people don't reopen old tasks. Private task. So this is a neat little thing. As you may know, Productive's tasks have a privacy setup, which means that only people who are subscribed to the task can see it. In this case, we want to ensure that all tasks created within a certain task list are private. So whenever a task is created, if the task list is folder private tasks, which is how I named my task list, then what I want to do is you want to update the task and set it to private. All right. And those are all of our task additional actions. Well, inspirations for task additional actions. I'm sure that you folks will be able to figure out some use cases of your own, because it's not possible to give all of the possible variations here. With that said, we're going to be moving over to budgets real quick. And as you can see here, our first automation is to invoice a delivered budget. This is a very new thing. So invoicing in Productive, can be done, and it's a fairly powerful part of Productive, and we're going to be doing our office hours on it next time. But it is a manual process. With this automation, we are taking our first big step into actually automating the creation of invoices. So what are we doing here? Whenever a budget changes or is updated, if it has changed its status to delivered, meaning whenever somebody delivers a budget, what we want to do is we want to create an invoice. So we're going to invoice 100% of the budget and create it as a draft. Note that the automation stops there. It just creates a draft for you. We're not pushing it into the realms of sending the invoices out and so on that might come at a later point. For now, you will have your draft set up that you can then review and then send it out to the client as needed. And a quick one on deals. So an additional action here. So whenever we create a deal, we want to also, and you'll notice here I have no conditions, right? So this is on all deals all the time. So whenever I create a task, I want to create to-dos. Two to-dos in this case. I should have put 3. So this first one is 2 weeks after we create the task, and the second one is 1 month after we create the deal. And the second one is a month after we create the deal. And it's assigned to the relative person to a deal creator, not to a fixed person. Basically, this ensures that you follow up with the client regularly. All right, so those are our additional actions. Let's hop over into notification territory. First up, milestone closed on tasks. Very simple one. So when a task has been updated, if the task is milestone, its type is milestone, and the workflow status has changed to closed, what I want to do is I want to send a Slack message to a specific channel. Hey, great news, folks. We've just resolved this milestone, and put in some emojis because you want to. That's a good way just to ensure that the important deliverables are communicated across the entire team or even company. New assignee and critical task. So as you may know, in Productive, you have something that's called custom fields. Custom fields let you set up your own things in Productive, attributes, and so on. So what we've done here is we've set up a priority custom field, and one of the options is critical. So this is a very important task. So on this project, if a task's priority is critical and the assignee has changed, I want to send a Slack message. Hey, folks, we've changed the assignee on this critical task. New person, please look at this as soon as possible. Just to make sure it doesn't slip through the cracks. Email notif on new task. Okay. Very simple one. So whenever a task is created, we want to check again if the priority is critical. And in this case, we want to send an email out to a specific person. Now, note one thing. This person here does not belong to Productive. This is an external email. So this could be used to notify like the head of my client's entire team. Hey, we have a new critical task created on your project. Can you please take a look at it and advise further? Right. So you can even inform out external folks about things that are going on. New critical task created. Okay, this is a very simple one. So we're just checking if a new task has been created with the critical attribute. If that's true, then hey, we just create a little Slack message here warning everybody to take a look at it as soon as possible. So notifications on budgets. One simple setup that we have here. So we have a custom field called invoicing status. And one of the options that we have in that custom field is ready for invoicing. Whenever a budget's invoicing status changes to ready for invoicing, we are creating a comment on that budget, warning an individual. In this case, it's a fixed person, because that's how I chose to do it. Hey, this is ready for invoicing. So imagine in this case that Luca is the person in charge of invoicing at my company. I'm warning him, hey, Luca, can you please take a look at it and process it further? Once he does his thing, he would probably change the invoicing status from ready for invoicing to invoiced. New recurring budget. So as you know, Productive has the option of recurring budgets through weeks, months, quarters, and so on. So whenever a budget is set to recur in the future, what we want to do is we want to inform the person, the owner of the budget, hey, so you've set this budget up to recur, or somebody else has. Please make sure that you do these things because that's the best way of working, and we don't want to forget about it. All right, new recurring budget. Okay, budget use notification. This is, again, a simple one. So in these cases, whenever a budget is updated, whenever its used percentage is more than or equal to 50 or 80, and you can even do this in separate automations if you want. You want to send a Slack message, or you can also send an email. In my case, I'm choosing to send a Slack message. Hey, folks, warning, this budget is being used up. And note that this automation will trigger every time that we are above 50 or 80%, right? So you'll get repeated notifications until, well, you negotiate more hours with the client. And this is a similar thing, but instead of warning a Slack channel, we're just warning the owner. So same setup, but we're just creating a comment on that budget saying, hey, whoever you are, please check this out, contact the client when you can. Okay, new deal one. So we're moving past budget and into deals. Very simple one, very elegant one, very useful one, and your people will love it for you. So whenever a deal has been changed to one, you want to send out a Slack message saying, hey, we won the deal, congratulations, and just load as many emojis in here as you humanly can. New deal, service review. Okay, so let's imagine that you're in a situation where people can create deals and manage deals and whatever, but every deal has to be signed off by a specific person at the company, like a sales supervisor or whatnot. This is actually the next one, so we'll go back to the previous one in a second. So in this case, so whenever we create a new deal, we want to send out an email to Luca, because Luca is the big boss here, saying, hey, Luca, so we created a new deal, check it out, this is the information, we want to confirm it with you that it's okay. And the other option is that whenever a deal is created, we want to send an email not to Luca as the specific supervisor, but instead to the deal owner, saying, hey, John, whatever, a new deal has been created for you. Please review it and check off on it whenever you can. And yeah, schedule new budget. This is a nifty one. So as you may know, Productive lets you schedule, as of a few months ago, Productive lets you schedule work against jobs that have not yet been won. So against deals, right? So in this case, I'm checking if the stage status has been changed to 1, and then warning people to schedule work on this job. And why did I mention that before? Well, because in this check if, I don't have to look at whether the budget has been won. I can also say, do this when the stage has changed to, and then set up any pipeline stage, for example, ready for scheduling in my case. Right, so I can inform the people ahead of time before the budget has even been won or created that they have some work to do to schedule stuff. Notification on invoices, right? So again, let's imagine that we have somebody at the company who's in charge of monitoring all of the invoices that we create. So whenever a new invoice has been created, we want to create a comment on that invoice warning Luca, hey, Luca, can you please review it, finalize it, process it further? And then Luca will go into Productive and do his magic. However, what we can also have as a situation is we have an external finance team, or even maybe not external, but they don't have access to Productive for whichever reason. Whenever we update an invoice, meaning in a way that we change it by copying it over to our accounting tool, which Productive integrates with, we can send an email to those external people telling them, hey, an invoice has been copied, check it here, make sure that everything is fine. And now we're past notification territory and we're in warning territory. So we have a few of them for tasks here. Missing data on task. So again, when a task is created on a specific project, I want to check a few things. First up, is the initial estimate empty? Is the assignee empty? And is the due date empty? So if any of these is true, we can notice that have the or operator in between them, and the priority is critical, then we want to send a Slack message so we have some missing information on this task. So if any of these three are empty and it's a critical task, we want to send this information out to Slack. And actually, if I go up a bit, yeah, I forgot to do this. Okay, so let's do it now. So this little automation here, so budget ready for invoicing, you will notice here. So I have this budget called iOS and Android something. When I change this to ready for invoicing, so updated, again, we get a little notification saying automation has finished. And in the feed, we get notification saying, hey, Luca, this is ready for invoicing. And then I get to do my thing. All right. Back to warnings. So missing data on task, we covered that. Missing data on task comment. This is a similar way of achieving basically the same thing. So whenever a task is created, if the due date or the initial estimate is empty, we want to update the task. So we want to assign it to the project manager for review. And we want to comment on the task saying, hey, project manager, please set up the due date and initial estimate on this task and check with Creator why this was not set up initially. Right? There might be a perfectly valid reason. Maybe we don't know the estimate, we don't know the due date at the very outset, but that's something that we can communicate. And with this little setup, we can ensure that that we have all of the relevant info in one place. Okay, no time on resolve task. This one might make sense for you folks. So whenever a task is updated on this specific project, once again, we want to check if the status has changed to closed and the work time is 0, meaning we resolve the task, but we tracked absolutely no time on it. If this happens, which might be an illogical state, we want to send a Slack message saying, hey, this has been resolved by this person without tracking any time on the task. Please take a look at it, check it out. All right. And again, note one thing, if I just go back here for a second. One thing that you can do in theory here, you can check all this information and then change the task status. So, you set up an action thing, update task, change its workflow status to something like QA or check or to do or whatever. So basically, you reopen the task and you make and you tell the person, hey, check it out, make sure that everything is fine, make sure that you have time tracked in the appropriate place. The one that we mentioned previously, so change made to budget. This is a warning. So whenever a budget has been changed and the hours used has not changed, this is important. Then I want to create a comment on the budget saying, hey, whoever you are, a change has been made to this budget, please review. And the important part here, this is simple. The important part is this, because if you don't set this up, then whenever somebody tracks time here, you'll get a notification, which you don't want. So just make sure that this is in your automation. And lastly, but not leastly, so we have this. So at my imaginary company here, I want to enforce my people to put in proposal links, which is a custom field that I've set up, whenever we have a deal that's progressed to the stage of proposal signed or ready for scheduling. So whenever a deal has been updated, we check if the proposal link is empty and if the deal is in either one of these stages. If that is true, I want to send an email out to both the person who triggered the automation and to the deal owner, telling them, hey, you did not include the proposal link, please review this, cheerio, thank you, get it done. And that is it from this list of inspiration for your automations. We do have quite a few more things to cover, but before we do, I just want to show you how this works real quick. So in my sales pipeline, let's get this back into opened, and you'll notice here that I don't have, that I need to reload it. So proposal link, it's empty. And I am going to change this to, hey, folks, we got a proposal. And I'm going to get an automation saying, hey, something went wrong here. And on the deal itself, we're going to get, no, so not on the deal. What did we set it up as? We set it up as sending an email, right? So what we'll get here in my email, I'll get a deal without proposal link. Hey, Luca, on this little deal here, you did not have this set up. So I can click on this and actually be taken back into productive to check it out. Coolio. All right. Now, before we move into the Q&A part of the day's office hours, I want to show you two things that are coming up soon, I should say. These are the when automation. So we said that whenever an automation will trigger whenever somebody does something in productive, right? Somebody changes a task, you send out an email. The when automation changes the rules of the play for a bit, in a way. The when automation does not look at a specific action, it takes a look at a specific point in time. So once this feature is released, it's not ready yet, we will take a look at a specific time. And at that specific time, for example, Monday at 8 a.m., something will happen. In our case, every Monday morning, I will notify the team via Slack to review their tasks for the week, right? It doesn't refer to any specific action that somebody takes in productive. It's just every Monday at 8 a.m. That's one thing that's coming up soon. The second thing is the find automation. So in the find automation, you will get the same trigger setup. So when something happens, then tell productive to find something, like a task in this case, which has the following setup. And then we want to do something on that task. For example, we want to change one of these fields, one of these attributes. How do we use this? Well, for instance, let's say that we have a milestone on a project and we've resolved it, and then somebody goes in and creates or updates or deletes a task within that falls, let's say, within that milestone, within that task list, probably. We want to update the milestone and update the milestone accordingly. So we want to tell the PM, hey, you closed this milestone, but people are still working there. Check it out, what's going on. And lastly, to make things even more powerful, you have both of these options. So when at a specific point in time, 8 a.m. on a Monday, I want you to check something and then do something. What can we do here, for instance? Well, every Monday morning or every morning, you want to check if there are any budgets whose end date has passed. And if any such budgets are found, deliver them. All right, so this way you can ensure basically that all of your budgets are being delivered in time without anybody actually going into the system and doing it manually one by one. And with that said, I think we are done with this part, and I think we can now actually hop over into our Q&A segment. Let me just open it up. Let me find it. Q&A. It's not giving me. Hang on. Okay. Angela, are automations only available to admins? Yes, they are. By default, they're only available to admins, but you can also, using custom permissions, you can give, you can give access to automations to any other user. Angela, please let me know in the QA if that answers it for you. Emma, can you create automations to be the same on all projects instead of just on one project? Currently, you cannot. So currently, you have to set it up per project. But I think that in terms of improvements on the existing automations infrastructure, this is the most requested feature request. So I think that this is going to be done sooner rather than later, Emma. Ella, can you set automations at organization level? Proving my point, it's a very requested thing. Yes, Ella, so you will be able to hopefully vary out in the near future. Somebody, can I check if I have any automations set up for a specific project? Yes, you can. Let me just reshare. Hope it's working. Yeah. So if we go into productive, into a specific project, you'll see up here you have this little robot fella. You click on him, you'll see a list of all automations, and you'll see I have quite a few on this poor project. I have to go. Is it possible to watch it back? Indeed, it is. I hope I didn't. I hope I caught you before you left. Is it currently possible? So yeah, just in case I didn't answer that, is it possible to watch it back? It is. As soon as the recording here has been created, you will be sending it out to everybody who both attended and who just signed up, but unfortunately couldn't make it to the webinar. Is it currently possible to set up an automation to Slack message when any service on a project reaches 90% used? That's an interesting point. Currently, no. Currently, you cannot. So if we go back here, but I do see what you mean. So if we go here into automations, we can check for budgets or deals in their entirety, but we cannot watch individual services within those deals or budgets. However, I do know what you mean. You want to send out, let's say that you have a service called development and you want to send out a notification to a person in charge of just development. I'm assuming you have a use case like that. So currently you cannot do this. What I would maybe ask you as instruct you to do as the best way forward, reach out either to our support team or to our success team via our emails, which you can actually see. I think we included it somewhere around here. Brilliant. Okay, so you can reach out to us at customer.success@productive.io. We'll set it up here somewhere in the future. And just let us know that you want this so that we can process it internally and then get back to you as soon as we have news on the front. Okay, Angela confirmed that that's good. That's great. Linda, so we run into the issue that people are receiving a lot of email notifications from Productive and are ignoring these emails. How dare they? Although we know you can manage your notifications, people aren't doing this actively. That being said, will the automation be mainly an email notification or also an in-app notification? The latter will resonate more. Emails are deleted often. That's a good point. Whenever you, where did we put this? Hang on, I know we had it somewhere here. I think this was, yeah, create a comment on a task. So this will not send in, this will push a notification to a person's inbox, right? So it mentions them on a task, as such, it goes to their inbox. With that said, one thing that you will have to probably, have your people take a look at is under notifications, make sure that the appropriate options here are turned on. If I'm not mistaken, I think that on tasks, whenever you, let me actually just check. Yeah, I think so. Right. Whenever you have a to-do assigned to yourself, or no, there is a situation where we always send out a notification regardless of your setup. I think it's when you're mentioned in a comment. I think you cannot bypass those. But yeah, in any case, this setup here with a comment, this is what will send a notification to the inbox. Linda, does that help? While we wait for Linda to respond, I'll move forward. Jess, hi Jess. Is it possible to create an automation for expense reimbursements to require approval? I see. So you want to do something like, hang on. So new automation. So when an expense has been created, check if reimbursement is yes, and if when that happens, send an email to a person or something like that. Is that close to what you mean, Jess? Linda says, I hope. I hope so too. I hope the people see the in-app notifications and action them further. Okay, we'll wait for Jess a second. We'll go on. And yeah, just to answer your question, currently it's not possible to set up automations on the expense flow. But again, if you let us know via the in-app chat or email or whatever, we can then process it to forward it to the product team and get back to you with more info once it's done. And yeah, whenever you have requests like these, please do so, because this helps us both shape our roadmap, but also get back to you as soon as we have something ready or near ready, so you can check it out. Okay, seeing that there are no pre-setup options in the automation sections, is there documentation that will be made available on the examples you shared? That's a very good question, and I am glad to say that I have a typo here. Hang on. That it will be. So if we go here and if we go to automation, where is one of these? Nope. All right. So automation general overview. You can, so if you, no, wait, I need, it was here a minute. Give me 1 second. I know that we have it, I just have to find it. Maybe it hasn't been released out into the wild yet, but if it hasn't, then it will be. So automation examples and best practices. So all of the examples that we discussed here today, or close to all of them, are mentioned here, so you can go through these and cherry pick which ones you like best. Brendan, do you think that this will help? So it's called automations, examples, and best practice. Let me know in the Q&A if that's helpful. Are they in the drop downs? Yes. So task management actions, expand, and then you have them here, like assigning default assignee, setting due dates, and stuff like that. Let me know if that helps. Okay, cool, perfect, yay. Good. Linda, we'd like to send personal Slack messages from Productive every end of the week when somebody is incomplete with their time entries for that week. Is that possible? Unfortunately, currently not. Productive currently is not able to send out a message to an individual telling them, hey, you didn't fill out your timesheets or whatever. The only way that you can currently do it is to send it to a public Slack channel. With that said, I think that this is something that's not beyond the realms of possibility in the future. So again, please let us know about this, and then we can check with our team internally to see what can be done in the future. How many automations can we create? As many as you want, really, but let me show you. So if we go back here into settings automations, you'll notice that I have like, I don't know, 30, 40, something like that, automations here. And I can create 1,000,000 automations here if I want. So I'm not limited in any way. The only thing that does limit me is this monthly automation runs. So on my current plan, I have 10,000 monthly automation runs. What does this mean? Whenever an automation is completed, so whenever this happens, this is one run. And I have 10,000 per month. From what we've seen, this has proven more than enough. But if this changes, if you or your organization, if you're hitting this limit that you have, whichever limit it may be based on your plan, let us know, and then we'll see if there's anything that we can do for you. I hope that helps. Can you automate client emails even when our clients are not users of Productivity? Yes, you can. This is a good example, client notification. Let's just get rid of this. So whenever we create a task on this project, we want to send an email out to john@gmail.com because that's the address that my client uses, and telling John, hey John, we created a new task here, please check it out. Or again, going back to what we discussed earlier, whenever anything happens on a task, whenever we close a task, whatever, we can reach out to the client and tell them, hey folks, we did this and this, or this happened. Amy, let me know if that helps. Will people know if they've been assigned a task that was created by an automation? I haven't tested out that scenario, but I don't see why not. Like I'm 99.9% sure that if an automation assigns a task to somebody, they will get a notification. So they will know. They should know. I haven't tested that scenario. As I said, I'm fairly certain that it does happen, but if it doesn't, then it should. So if you run into this scenario, into this like issue, whatever, let us know and we'll see if we can do what we can do to fix it. But I believe that it will trigger a notification. Okay, hang on, lost it. Linda, I hope. Okay, cool. Linda, other question. We'd like to send personal Slack messages. Okay, so I think this is a double. Okay, so we already answered this to Linda previously. Brandon, okay, thanks. Yes, thanks. Okay, so everyone has confirmed that I think we've answered the questions. I'll give you folks a few more minutes if anything else comes to mind. While we do wait for a minute or two, yeah, thanks everyone for coming. Just a reminder, we're going to be doing the next in this series in about a month or so. You'll get an email or more than one email as usual, reminding you to join in. We'll also have a giveaway. So yeah, even if you don't like invoicing, our next topic, join in and get some cool free stuff. I think that's everything that we have for today. Thanks everyone. Oh, hang on, Adam is here with in the last seconds. Can you set an automation to add an already created custom field to a project? That's perfectly fine, Adam, no worries. Set to add an already created custom field. So you want to, whenever a project is created, right? So you want to make sure that, I'm assuming that all of your projects have the same custom fields. Let's see. Well, we don't have a project trigger, right? So we don't have this sort of trigger yet whenever a project is created that we do something further. But I do think that in the near future, we are going to be allowing you to do additional actions with custom fields on tasks. But that's already at the point when a custom field has been assigned to a project. Are you, Adam, are you referring to a specific situation where it's a custom field on a project or a custom field on tasks within a project? Let's give Adam a second. Initial estimate, then have a custom field for, so Adam says, an example is we use initial estimate, then have a custom field for quote. The dev should fill out initial estimate, but not quote, but they mistakenly do so. We want to hide quote until estimate is added. Okay. Yeah, this is on a task level. Tell you what, Adam, I'll try to make a mental note of this and see if me or one of the team here at the success team at Productive can reach out to you so we can take a look at this, because I'm not completely sure that I understand. Might make more sense to do this via mail or something, if that's fine with you. So yeah, I guess we're ending the office hours with not answering all questions, but hey, that also happens. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Where are we? Here we are. Thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, join us in about a month or so for the invoicing office hours. I hope this has been helpful. I hope it will help you set up automations on your end. And we'll talk soon. Have a lovely day. Bye-bye.